Hello my dear lovely students, hope you are fine. Today we are studying the new grammar lesson, which is the quantifiers. Today we are studying the quantifiers, and at the end of this class we will be able to know what quantifiers are and what they are used for, and to know the difference between countable and uncountable nouns, and then know how to apply the different quantifiers in different contexts. Now, we have in English countable and uncountable nouns, okay? Countable nouns, like when I say I have 2 pens or 2 pencils, 3 tables, 3 bottles, all of these are countable nouns because I can count them. I can tell you the exact number that I have. Uncountable nouns, it means the nouns that I cannot count, like sugar, salt, flour, cloud, and money, milk. All of these are uncountable nouns. I cannot count them. Okay, we use with the countable nouns for the little amount a few bananas, a few amount of bananas, okay? Or when I talk about the huge amount or big amount, I will say many pencils. I have many pencils in my bag. Or there are many biscuits in the lunchbox. When I talk about uncountable nouns, I can use a little for the little amount. Like when I say, I have a little amount of sugar in my coffee. When we talk about the big amount, we can use much. And after this, we should use there is with it, so that we can say there is much flour in the dish. Or when we talk about both of them, we can use a lot of or lots of. So a lot of or lots of is common between countable and uncountable nouns. Okay, so let's go to the other slide. Here we talk about how many there are and how much and there is. When we talk about the countable nouns, we use many. When we talk about the uncountable nouns, we use much. Let's start with many. Like when I say there are many restaurants in my neighborhood, I used there are with many because I can count the restaurants that I have in my neighborhood. Like when we say there are many books in my bag, I used there are, then many with books, because books is countable noun. And after this, we can say there are many cars in the parking. I used many with cars because it's countable, and there are because they are plural. How many kids are in the park? I used the how many to ask about the kids because I can count the kids. Let's go to much. When we talk about much, we can use there is. Like when we say there isn't much traffic in my city, I used there is with much because traffic is uncountable. Second example, we don't have much water at home, okay? I used much with water because water is uncountable, so that I used much. He puts much sugar in his cup. We used much here with sugar because sugar is uncountable. But it's different if we say I have 3 spoons of sugar in my cup. It's different. 3 spoons, because here I count the spoons, not the sugar itself. How much rice do you want in your plate? When we asked here, we used how much to ask about the rice because I cannot count the seeds of rice. So that we used how much, not how many. So we use many to with the countable nouns, and much with the uncountable nouns. We use much in the affirmative sentence, like when we say, there is too much sugar in my coffee. I used here, there is with much, because we talk about the sugar. In the negative form, like when we say, I haven't found much information about this subject. I used here much with information because information is uncountable noun. But if I'm going to count it, I can mention or say, I have or I found many pieces of information. Okay, this is the only case that I can count pieces of information, not information. But now we are talking about information only. So we say, I haven't found much information about the subject. Many. We use many in the affirmative sentence, like when we say, there are so much cars in the city that there is no place to park. So here we used there are with many because we are talking about cars. Okay? Then in the negative form, like when we say, Peter hasn't got many friends. I used here many with friends because I can count his friends. So how to ask, are there many shops in your neighborhood? I used many, and are there, of course, we do the opposite. We start with are, and after this there, because it's the question, and we started in capital A. So are there many shops in your neighborhood? Okay, now we use how much, then the uncountable noun, to ask about the quantity or the amount. Like when we say, how much milk is there in the bottle? To ask about the countable nouns, we use how many students are there in the classroom. So if we want to ask about the countable nouns, we should use how many. If we want to ask the uncountable nouns, we should use how much. Let's go to the other slide. A lot of or lots of. We use a lot of or lots of with plural countable nouns. And uncountable nouns, we use it with both countable and uncountable. Like when we say, there is a lot of food in the fridge. I made a lot of friends this year. In this sentence here, it doesn't mean that I'm making friends. No, it means that I knew friends this year. So we used here a lot of with the friends because I can count the friends. And here we used a lot of with food, but I cannot count the food. We can also use lots of instead of a lot of in the affirmative sentence. Like when we say, there are lots of flowers in the garden. Now let's practice. Use many or much and how much or how many to complete the questions. Mind countable and uncountable nouns. Number 1, space, time. What should we use with time? Can you tell me the answer? Yes, it's much time because I cannot count time. Space, money. What should I use with money? Is it countable or uncountable? Yes, it is uncountable, so that I should use much. Much money. Dollars. What should I use with dollars? Can I count dollars? Yes, actually I can count them, so that I will use many. Milk. What should I use with milk? Can I count milk? Here I have only milk, not cups of milk or bottles of milk. So I should use, yes, much milk. But it's different if I say cups of milk. I have many cups of milk. Yes, because I'm counting now the cups, not the milk. Children, can I count the children? Yes, I can count the children, so that I will use many children. Water, can I count water? No, I cannot count water, so that I will use much. Fun, what should I use with fun? I have fun. Can I count fun? No, actually I cannot count fun, so that I'm going to use much. Dogs, can I count dogs? Yes, actually I can count dogs, so that I will use many. Let's go to the other part. Stars are there in the sky. Which question should we start with? How many or how much? What should we say? Yes, correct. How many? How many stars are there in the sky? I used how many because I can count them, and I used are because they are countable. Number 2, people live on islands. Okay, here I'm talking about people. So what should I use? How much or how many? Yes, how many people live on islands? I used how many because I'm asking about people and I can count them. How much or how many birds are there? I'm asking about the birds. Can I count the birds? Yes, I can count them. So I will use how many. How many birds are there? How much or how many water is in the ocean? Can I count the water in the ocean? No, I cannot. So I will use how much. How much water is in the ocean? How much or how many money is in a bank? What should I use with money? Can I count money? Not dollars, not pounds. Yes, we will use how much because I cannot count money. And I use the is with money because I cannot count it. Like what we did with water. I use the is with it because I cannot count water. How much or how many countries are there in the world? What should I use? How much or how many? Countries. Can I count countries? Yes, I can. So that I'm going to use how many. How many countries are there in the world? We used are with countries because I can count it. How much or how many bread is eaten per day? What should I use? How much or how many? Can I count bread? Yeah, actually we cannot count bread, so that we used how much bread is eaten per day. Okay, how much or how many bones are there in the human body? Bones, I'm talking about bones. Can we count them? Yes, actually we can count them, so that we are going to use how many bones are there in the human body. Let's go to the other one. A little and a few. A little, let's start with a little. A little, we use a little with uncountable nouns. A little has positive meaning. It means not much, but enough. It can be used with only. I have got a little time today. Shall we meet? I used here a little because I'm talking about time. I cannot count time, so that I used a little. Like when we say there is only a little milk in the fridge, I used a little. It means not very much, but enough milk in the fridge. I used a little with it because milk is uncountable. Let's go to a few. A few. We use a few with plural countable nouns. They can also be used alone, without a noun. A few has positive meaning. It means not many, but enough. It can be used with only. Let's read this example. There are a few glasses on the table. I used here there are with glasses because they are countable, and I used a few because I want to say there are not many but enough glasses on the table. He has got only a few friends. It means that he doesn't have many friends, but he has enough friends. I used a few to mention that he doesn't have many friends. Let's go to the other one. Now let's practice. Complete with a few or a little. Number one, there will be a little rain this week. We used here a little because we are talking about rain. And can we count rain? No, we cannot count rain. So that we used a little. Number two, a few friends are coming over tonight. I used here a few with friends because I can count friends. They are not many, but I can count them. Number three, I need a little sleep. I used a little with sleep because I cannot count sleep. So that we used a little. It means not much sleep, but it's enough. Number four, could you buy a few bottles of water for me? Here, this example is really good because he mentioned here bottles of water. Can we count the bottles of water? Yes, actually we can. So we used a few with it because bottles are countable. My parents give me a little pocket money every week. I used here a little with pocket money because I cannot count the pocket money. All we need is a little luck. Can we count luck? No, we cannot. So that we used a little. I would be like to eat a few biscuits now. Can we count biscuits? Yes, we can count them. So that we used a few. They are not many, but they are enough. There is still a little bread left. What should I use with bread? Can I count bread? No. So that I used a little. My friend knows a few English poems. It means that he knows enough poems in English and he can count them. We need a little cheese for our pizza. Can I count the cheese? No, I cannot. So that I used a little. Now, we use a little with the uncountable nouns, and we use a few for the countable nouns. The last example that I will say, could you buy a little water for me? Here I used a little water because I cannot count water. But if I'm talking about the bottles, I would say, could you buy a few bottles of water for me? I used a few because I'm talking about the bottles and I can count them. Now, thank you so much and hope you understand our class. Bye.